Garrick adds more padding to the seat of Morn's trousers. Brunt, FCA, accuses Quark of being a philanthropist. And Aunt Nerisse moves in with the O'Briens. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the seventh rule with the juiciest man in Hollywood, Citrus Lofton.
Citrus.
My name's Ryan T. Husk, and Cirroc did remind us a couple weeks ago that if you put Cirroc into your mobile device, it does autocorrect it to Citrus, which is fitting. You're tasty, you're juicy, you're good, you're healthy, right?
Yeah, I'm orange juicy. Citrus.
And today we're doing a review of Deep Space Nine's Season 4 Body Parts, directed by, I just realized, Mr. Avery Brooks. Story is by Louis P. DeSantis and Robert J. Bolivar. If you add a middle initial, it makes you sound... never mind.
It makes you sound like Ryan T.
Yeah, a little pompous.
Shut up.
Teleplay by Hans X. Beimler.
Yeah, Mr. Hans Beimler.
People have told me in the past, they're like, adding a T in your name makes you sound pompous. And I was like, I'm good with that.
That's fine. It's all right.
It works. If the shoe fits, right? How are you, man?
I don't have a middle name, actually. So people ask me all the time, you don't have a middle name? And I don't think it's an Ethiopian thing. My mom never gave me a middle name. So it's not really a big Ethiopian thing. Middle names.
Well, you're lucky that you have a name that nobody else has. So you don't need a middle name, a middle initial, and anything like that. Like, you are Cirroc. That's it. You win. Yeah. There are no others.
Except for that vodka. But yes, I do have a recognizable name. That's just, I don't need that extra letter to distinguish me. But I do get letters sometimes in the mail from bill collectors with a middle initial in it. And I know that it's not for me. It's for somebody who's stolen my identity. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they'll say, hey, Mr. Whatever middle initial in there. And I'll know that that's a fake account that somebody started. Because there's no way I'm going to fill out an application with a middle initial.
Oh, that's interesting. Or middle name. Maybe we should give you like a fake middle name one of these days. Everybody in the live chat right now, give Cirroc a middle name. Is it like Xavier, like old school Xavier McDaniels? Remember Xavier McDaniel? Something like the Knicks.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like a P, like Peter.
Or most middle names, if I'm not mistaken, are either your grandfather's name or your father's name, some kind of shout out to somebody in your family that you couldn't get done on the first name, so you do it on the second, right?
Yeah. Or it's like, if it's like some weird old name like Jebediah, you're like, all right, just make it a middle name, I guess. You can't, don't make me a second or a third. Just make it a middle name. And when people ask, just pretend like you didn't hear the question.
Exactly. Just use the initial. Body Parts. Avery Brooks directed. Not really one of Avery's more recognizable directorial, episodes, but nonetheless, it gave him. That's just another credit to his name. I did like the episode, though. There were several elements that I thought was great in this episode.
Yeah, I didn't realize that he directed until just right before we recorded. I checked to see who directed it, and it's fun when that happens, because then we like look back and go, oh, okay, so that was his idea, or he did that. I didn't really think about the directing. I tried to guess who wrote it, and I couldn't guess. And so but I didn't look at the directing. Yeah. What must have been fun was this scene, right? Lighting, all the lighting and the colors of the Divine Treasury. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was. And I think there were other elements that was awesome. But, the biggest thing that kept in the back of my mind was actually the B plot of this episode, if you can call it the B plot. It was Kira getting pregnant with O'Brien and Keiko's baby. Was that the B plot?
Yes.
Yeah. And And so what I kept thinking was, oh, this is the point in time when Nana was pregnant and showing signs, right? Mm-hmm. And they had to come up with this clever way to kind of trick the audience into having reasons why she's showing. So this whole thing, I believe, is just as a setup to kind of say, hey, this is why Nana is going to be, Kira is pregnant right now. And we're going to write a backstory to kind of fulfill that need.
Right. And I believe I've heard them say in the past, the DS9 writers, that like you guys went on a break, presumably, spring break, and you come back and suddenly Nana is pregnant and showing. And so they had to kind of scramble to write that in. And my first thought when I think of that is, I wonder what the original B plot was to this episode, and whether it was a B plot that they just, it was just like a filler B plot, or whether it was an important B plot that they're just like, okay, well, we'll add that as a B plot to a later episode. You know what I mean? Like what they actually did with that B plot, and if it was an important, but it was a good one. It was fine. It worked. And it definitely set up for future episodes when she moved in with suddenly the O'Briens. It's like, it's like a sitcom family. All of a sudden now here's Auntie Nerisse coming in, and Molly O'Brien says, can I play on your bed? And she's like, anytime, you're going to regret that.
Yeah, that was, I thought, one of the things that Column does so well is play the nervous kind of edgy guy who's deliberating over something that's bothering him, and that I think that's his, like, boom, that's his niche right there. At least one of them, because he has so many facets to his ability. But I really enjoyed that version of him when he starts to, well, what am I going to do? Can you believe this? And can you believe that? I think they opened the scene where he's talking about Keiko wanting to climb the cliffs of Undalar or something like that.
Underwear, I think it was.
Undalar, yeah, underwear.
To get fungus, I believe it was.
Yeah. So he was deliberating over that, and he's just losing his mind, and he can't believe that. And I thought Dax did a great job of kind of bringing him back down to earth with her comments, like, oh yeah, maybe the morning sickness and the medical examinations didn't remind her that she was sick, that she was pregnant. She needs your help. So that was kind of a male chauvinistic check that they did in this opening scene, which I thought was good.
I wonder, speaking of male chauvinist, it's my turn to say something. No.
FCA.
No, but I was thinking O'Brien is definitely like the guy that they use for the everyman, the one that's a male chauvinist without realizing. Like, right, the Ferengi are chauvinistic, but they don't care. Like, that's part of their culture. They're like, yeah, I'm chauvinist. Like when Nog says, she's so stupid. And he yells, like, they're proud of it. Yeah, exactly. Whereas O'Brien is the one that's like, he's just like a regular guy. He's like, I don't know, whatever. And I do wonder, and maybe we could ask the people in the live chat right now, if you guys are watching this, has O'Brien ever said or done something that was actually offensive? That wasn't just like, oh, that's our O'Brien. Was there ever a moment where you're like, I don't like that, I can't think of any, but I can say that there have been at least 20 or 30 times where I could see it's possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't think of any off the top. The only thing I can think of is the one time he was on that one planet with Bashir, and there were the women around. Wasn't there something that they were trying to talk him in, or he was trying to talk Bashir in? I wasn't sure. I have to kind of rewatch that.
I don't remember, but that reminds me of when he was saying he wanted Bashir, he wanted Keiko to be more like Bashir or something like that. And then Bashir was like, oh, so you want to do, I don't remember exactly what it was,
Yeah.
but I could see that one being a little pushing the envelope a little there.
Yeah. There's a few that he's pushed the envelope on. But you know, it's always kind of this, put his foot in his mouth without like, it's not harsh. It's almost like he's just mixes his words up, or he doesn't phrase it properly, or you know, it's always putting his foot in his mouth type of situation.
Right.
So it's not like a malicious thing when I look at O'Brien. I don't feel like
it's ignorance.
It's more ignorance. It's more, you know, like you said, he's kind of depicted to be like the real everyday, roll your sleeves up, come into work, even though you hate your job sometimes, you know.
You know what he is? Back in the day, they used to, and maybe they still do, but they used to always say that's a software guy. Like software guys, like computer programmers and people that work, they're not really used to working with like people so much. They kind of just like to work with computers because computers don't change, mechanical things you can fix, but you put them in the social situation and they're just a little less comfortable around people,
right.
You know?
Right. I would agree with that. I think that's pretty good. But I want to get into this A plot too, because that was some good stuff there too, with Quark and his so-called dying self.
Yeah.
Doric syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, and it does make you wonder. And I thought they were going to answer this question this episode. I was kind of waiting for it, and they didn't. I assumed that Brunt was the one that put up the doctor to say that, like paid the doctor to lie and tell Quark that he had Doric's syndrome to convince him, you know, like as a whole ruse to set this up. And that didn't actually come to fruition, but it still kind of left me with the question of, you know, did a doctor really make some kind of, oh, whoops, mistake, who then rather than telling Quark, tells some other doctor on the station, just, can you send him a message? Can you just tell him blah, blah, blah? You know, that seems less likely to me than it seems like he was just bribed by Brunt. Brunt was like, hey, I'll give you this money if you just tell him this guy for a day. And don't worry why. I have my reasons. And I was kind of waiting for that, and they didn't get it, but I feel like it was still slightly implied or possible, right?
Yes, I think so. And I agree with what you're saying as far as I was waiting for that too. I assumed that the doctor was in on it with Brunt as well, and that they would kind of expose that. But then I also was kind of waiting for Brunt to find something to swindle him out of. Like I thought it was part of this whole thing to get something out of him, like to give up the bar or to do something. And you know, if it was just to bankrupt him or take away all of his belongings, I think he could have gotten that done on the other episode when his mom was, you know,
right.
Or the episode where Rom started a union. You know, there was opportunity there to confiscate all his belongings and shame him or whatever. So this going through this entire scheme just to get that done didn't seem like it was something that he needed to do, right?
Yeah, and the other thing was that Brunt does say at one point, he says, this isn't business, it's personal. And my thinking was that makes him a bad Ferengi. Like the whole point of the Ferengi is don't make it personal. It's just business. It's just business. There's nothing personal. And Brunt is trying to take down Quark as personal vengeance, not in any way a business proposition or you know, anything that's going to improve. In fact, he's spending 1 million slips of latinum just to, you know, teach Quark a lesson, or presumably would have. That's a terrible business decision. He needs to be, if Quark should then tell the Grand Negus or the FCA, say, hey, this guy is not even doing business right. He's just going out for personal vengeance, and he should be removed from, oh man, I should have my tie for that. He should be removed from the FCA because he is not, he's not working within the rules, you know?
Yeah, because he's not motivated by profit in this particular.
The opposite,
There's
even.
no
Yeah.
right. He could have made a profit. He was offered a profit, and Quark even says to him, "All right, name your price. What do you want? I'll give you 10 pieces, 12 pieces. All right, just get to the point already." But he wasn't motivated by profit. He was motivated by personal vendetta, personal vengeance, which would totally disqualify him from all the rules of acquisition, because he's essentially throwing money away, just like burn his pieces or chop them up or whatever he said, however he wants to destroy them. So
Right.
that's a throwing away of money. He's actually losing and taking a loss.
Right. And his entire job is to enforce the way people do business and to punish people that are throwing money away. Like he even said at one point, which was hilarious, he accused Quark of being a philanthropist. He was like, doing things that are poor business decisions for personal reasons. But that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other issue I had, and I know we're kind of picking on it, and there were good
it's
things.
Brunt. He deserves it. He deserves to be picked on.
Yeah, he's the brunt of our jokes.
Zip, zing.
Yes. But so this is another problem I had. I feel like at this point we're on episode 24. The last episode we did, we were talking about. We went to that planet. They had the electromagnet, the Kukulaka, and all of that stuff, right? It was the quickening episode,
right?
But I just, but I'm just, I'm only saying that because, in some way, I feel like what they're doing with me is they're giving me a little bit of the Dominion, and then they back away from it, and then they give it some more, and they back away from it. And at this point, at 24. And I'm pretty sure we're about to get only 2 more episodes left for the end of the season, that we're going to be getting somewhere into the Dominion story again in these next couple of episodes, my guess completely. But if you're going to be, leaving us on a cliffhanger in the end of this season, it's going to probably be something that is going to make you think that the Dominion is coming and it's going down. That's my guess.
Right.
And so, why I say that is because some of these storylines feel like they were written before and slated up, and they're just kind of mixing them around, because we had Robert was telling us that they had Worf kind of thrown in on them in this season, right? So they had to mix stuff around. They did the Worf storylines early in the season, and they changed some things around. Now they're doing this, these other storylines, and I'm just feeling like that this episode was written for a different period or time, maybe the 3rd season, and they just got back to it, or it was written earlier, and then they just said, "Hey, we can use that episode to do the Nana pregnant things, so let's use that now." It just makes me think, what was the process in the writer's room for why they used this episode at this particular time?
Right. It does feel like it's one that could have been done at any time. It doesn't really affect the seasonal or series arcs, except for Nana, the B plot. But the A plot could have been the first episode of the first season, or one of the last episodes of the last season. Could have gone anywhere. And it's probably, that they're just, they're saving a few bucks, because you're right. The final episode of season 4, I believe, is the next one. So it's probably going to be a 2-part episode, and it's probably going to be pretty big and pretty badass. And so this one and the previous one, they're trying not to get too crazy with the budget, because they need it for the next episode. And really, how much did they really have to spend? The big parts were this divine treasury, and also the bar scenes are usually a little bit more expensive, because they do kind of, but I noticed they definitely go out of their way to add a lot of really cool aliens. Like I did see a Euridian walking out with Quark when the bar got closed. Shout out to the Euridians. That's like the guy that looks like a prune. He's just like a big prune face, and they kind of walk like this, And
I saw a green alien with Sisko at the end when he came with the furniture.
Right. And we'd seen that alien before, but I don't know what it is. I don't recall.
Okay.
But yeah, we did see that one too. Yeah.
And it was a really good makeup job on that one too, because I was like, "Whoa, that looks pretty good."
Right.
But yes, you're right. They do have a little bit of expenses. I mean, Quark's bar is already built. It's nothing that they have to, it's mostly set dressing and filling in extras, double girls and aliens. So yeah, they were saving money on the budget on this one, and really relying on Armin to carry this episode, because it's pretty much Armin and Jeffrey Combs, but mainly Armin carrying this episode.
Right. Mr. Shimmerman and Mr. Combs, they're definitely Armin. Those two. Right.
Yeah, they are. I have to say that we got a couple of rules of acquisition in this one.
Yes, we did.
Did you get them? Did you get them? I'm looking for a number.
Let's see if I can find them in my notes. I actually took way more notes than I usually do for this one. So we've got rule of acquisition number 17. A contract is a contract, but only between Ferengi. That's a great one. And
by the way, I noticed that when he was talking about the list of people to pay back, when he was saying I need to pay these people back, they were all Ferengis, right? They were
right. Because a contract with other people. Well, he did say something about like the Klingons, I think, or something, but he didn't name anybody specific. But that's because like it's only amongst Ferengis. Amongst other people, who cares?
Hey, I fell short.
Hey, whatever. So the other rule of acquisition, number 239, never be afraid to mislabel a product.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of funny too.
Speaking of labeling a product, this episode is called Body Parts. And that does kind of, they always like to have a good title that kind of brings the two plots together. And, the A plot, Body Parts, Quark in a way is selling his body parts, and Nana is, and Keiko's body parts are being discussed and rummaged around. Maybe there's another reason for the title, but that was my assumption why it was called Body Parts. I do like, I do like their choice of episode titles. Usually, they're usually really good about having interesting title names.
They are. This one's real matter of fact, so it's not really much to dig into, but yeah, they dealt with it. I thought it was interesting because O'Brien, he kind of took it really easily when they were like, "Yeah, your baby's in that other lady over there." Like, I don't know how well I would be able to handle that information if somebody said that to me. And it's like, okay, so she's going to deliver the baby, or she's delivering, so that was kind of and then the other thing I didn't think they got too far into detail, and I would have liked to know, is so they cut up Quark, or they cut up Ferengi into 52 pieces. Like, they didn't really explain that cultural practice or tradition as well as I thought they could have. Is that what they do? They cut your body up into pieces and sell it?
Yeah. They dry you up. They suck out all of the water out of you, or hydration, so that you're just, like
a jerky, beef jerky.
Yeah, like beef jerky, like beef Corky and
Corky.
So and throughout the episode, I was kind of morbidly picturing what that would look like to have something. I mean, first of all, they would get shrunk down to probably like, only like 1.5 feet, and they're just like, I mean, because even beef jerky has a little bit of, it's kind of like if you have like this food that has been vacuum sealed and has had all of the liquid sucked out of it, and it's like, just add liquid, and it opens back up like they do it with like peas or something. I mean, they do it with stuff. So I just imagine that with like a human or a Ferengi. And then like, does that mean if they drop the thing in a bathtub, that it'll just kind of like slowly turn into a corpse? But that's what it is. It's pretty morbid. It's pretty gross. And I don't see any value to it. And it is strange that the Ferengi who value business would have something that I don't see how that could be a good business decision for any of them. But we're actually out of time for this first part here, so we're going to take a quick break. Very quickly, a shout out to Abyssinian Kiosk. Hey, that is Cirroc's sister's website. She makes awesome. I thought so. I thought I saw the top of that one. That one's beautiful. Yeah. What's that one?
This is just like that polka dot type cross.
Beautiful. So Cirroc's sister does these. It's called AbyssinianKiosk.com. We include it in the description box below. So check it out. It makes great gifts for yourself or for others. This one is the Sisko kid design. I don't know what that design is called, but it's glorious. And just check it out. The description box below. Just click on that, AbyssinianKiosk.com, and it goes to a good place. Cirroc's sister is uber talented, very nice, and she makes cool stuff. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back on the seventh rule with Citrus Lofton.
Citrus.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the seventh rule with Cirroc Lofton. My name is Ryan T. Husk. We're doing a review of Deep Space Nine's body parts, and here are the trivioids that may or may not have made the cutting room floor. There are quite a few of them in this one. This was a fun one. Keiko has been talking about the botanical mysteries on Torred 5 for a long time. Keiko wanted to go back to Bajor and rappel down the cliffs of Undular to get a fungus sample. Quark pours Rom a free snail juice. Quark closed the Vole Belly deal on the first day. Vole Belly, that doesn't sound appealing. That's like those little rat creatures that they have. Quark made a pilgrimage to the great marketplace. Quark finally beats the odds. Chief O'Brien's baby has a change of address. Human babies are compatible with Bajorans, but Bajoran babies are not compatible with humans. Brunt FCA accuses Quark of being a philanthropist. Garrick adds more padding to the seat of Morn's trousers. Keiko thought Molly was going to kick her way out of the womb, and Aunt Nerys moves in with the O'Briens. Lots of fun stuff in this one, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the scene when Bashir's explaining what he just did, the whatever operation he performed to put the baby inside of Kira. And he mentions, he's like, the Bajoran body is different, and the stimuli and the peptides and whatever, right? And then Sisko kind of walks and he's like, yeah, whatever, but it works, right? It works. He's like,
don't confuse the guy. Don't stress him out. It works. Hey.
Yeah. Don't explain all the difficult science and all that stuff. You're confusing this guy. He's an engineer, not a doctor. Just, it works, right? The baby's okay, right? I thought that was kind of funny how Sisko was like, yeah, all right, enough of that. But one of my favorite lines was the Synthahol King. I think Quark calls himself the Synthahol King. And I'm like, oh, I've never heard it referred to like that. It's not alcohol, it's Synthahol.
Right.
And I just thought it was cool. So I might find this t-shirt that says the Synthahol King.
Nice. Sounds like a punk
band.
That's the Synthahol Kings.
Yeah. The Synthahol Kings, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's something about Synthahol that I don't remember. And I think it's non-alcoholic. I think that's the whole point. That's why they can drink it while they're at work. But I'm not 100% sure. So the people let us know in the comments below, does Synthahol have alcohol content? Is there alcohol in there? Is it called Synthahol because there is no alcoholic content in there? It just sounds weird drinking like non-alcoholic brandy, like non-alcoholic beer. Yeah. You could picture it, we have some, but not an alcoholic brandy. Like what? Does it taste the same?
I mean, can you even call it a bar if there's no alcohol in it?
Sounds more like a barf.
Okay, I like that one though. Yeah, so what about Quark trying to charge admission to his funeral? I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to make money off of every single thing, and which reminds me of the end, which was the cutest part, was when everybody shows up and they're like, where can we put all these things and what's going on? And then Quark gets it. He's like, wait a minute, these guys are giving me free stuff. And he's like, Captain, you can't do this. And a look from Sisko. Sisko was just doing looks at that point. He like looks at him like, what? And he says, not without a, without a fee. What did a storage fee, right? Yeah, he says, not without paying a storage fee. And again, a look from Sisko, like, are you fucking kidding me right now? We're hooking you up so good. And he's like, a minimal storage fee, practically nothing. And then a third look from Sisko, he's like, send me the bill. Send me. There are three looks there that were great. But
I love that.
That's the Ferengi.
I love that moment. Actually, that to me, that was a great example of how the kinship of the DS9 family is, how they all kind of pitched in together to help Quark out, even though he's always being a degenerate and running into the edges of the wall with Odo. It means that everybody really likes him. They really have a genuine love for him. And that was well expressed when Rom says, you thought you didn't have any assets.
Great line.
Right? Yeah. And then he starts mentioning the people that are assets in his life. And I thought that's really special, because we always go through life thinking that whatever we own and whatever material possessions we have, those are our assets, right? Or whatever money we have in the bank. But really, it's the people that we have around us. And that's the most important thing. So I thought they really hit that note well in this episode.
Right. And every 80s sitcom ever taught us the same thing, that if you have friends and family around you, then you're the richest person alive. I feel like that trope's been used quite a few times in 80s and 90s sitcoms. But yeah, it's true. And, even someone like Quark can kind of like pause and be touched by something like that. Rom already gets it. Rom is a bad Ferengi. He doesn't have the lobes for business, but he does have the lobes for being a regular person that appreciates people and is appreciated by other people.
Yeah.
They're a good dichotomy, those two.
And then I think my favorite line that I actually caught myself busting out laughing out loud for in this episode was where Rom says, they find out that he doesn't have Dorek syndrome. And Rom's like, isn't that great, brother? You're going to live. And Quark says, or something like, I get to sue Dr. Orox for malpractice. He was more happy about it.
Yeah, he says that and he goes, oh, and I get to live too, I guess. I guess that's also a thing for malpractice. That's what it was. Yeah.
So I thought that was hilarious. Like, that was the first thing that came to his mind, was a malpractice suit. He's like, yes. Forget that you're going to live. You get to actually sue. So that just shows you how Ferengi Quark is. He's so Ferengi that the news of him not being terminally ill is not as important as him being able to sue the doctor who told him he was terminally ill.
That sounds like an old school stand-up comedy joke where you're like, Quark is so Ferengi. How Ferengi is he? He's so Ferengi that when he finds out, whatever.
And then another little special moment that I really liked in this was when O'Brien was walking his wife in the house.
Yeah, that was so I loved it. I wrote that down too.
Oh yeah, you could bring out the lines, because he was basically treating her like a shuttlecraft, and I love the way it
was cute. Yeah.
I like the way he did. I thought it was cute, the wording in there.
Yeah,
something like
He says
something about nice landing, Captain, or something.
That was the third line. He says. Anyway, he said the second one was like thrusters at half, and release docking clamps and stuff like that. It was funny.
Yeah. Yes. And I like that. Just the way he did that, I thought that was really clever. To phrase it that way, and he was so gentle with her, and he was such a good husband in that moment. I thought, this is a real special relationship between the two of them. I thought that Molly was going to be a Nam, but she actually showed up in this episode. I was like, okay, Molly's here.
Me too. I wrote down Nam Molly with a question mark because I wasn't sure because it said Rosalind Chow was going to be in the episode. So I'm like, maybe Molly will be too. And so, I agree. But there were a couple. We did get a couple, though.
I know we got Nog as a Nam, right? I know Nog was in there.
Yep.
Who else was a Nam?
Moogie. In the same sentence, yeah. They just threw them both in the same sentence.
That's right.
And we also had the naming game, the Trek naming game that I don't think we've come up with a title for, but that's when they say, like, in this case, the naming game was the Albanian Brandy, right? It's always like a thing with an IAN and something with, or a Borodian turtle, an Algorian vulture. Albanian bread. You guys got to help us out in the comments. Let us know, what do we call that? I think we had some ideas like the Trek naming game, or like Trek naming or something, because that's what it is. It's just when they need a name, they're like, we need something named. Let's just come up with a star system, add IAN, and it's something we recognize. So let us know in the comments.
It's a Palladian cell phone.
Why can't I find those lines?
One was nice landing, Captain. Thrusters on half, I think, was the other one. I don't remember.
Yeah, and the first one was release docking clamps, I think. I think those were the three. Anyway, I did write those down to get those perfectly, but now I can't find them because I took so many notes. But because it was cool, it was cute, it was fun. I liked it. That was definitely something. That was definitely a good Star Trek touch. Nice touch there. Yeah.
Well, it's Star Trek talking about Star Trek in Star Trek in this very clever way in their relationship. So it's like relationship talk. It's not, they're not at war. They're not, at the helm of the ship right now. This is just the two of them in their private moment. And I thought he was really gentle with her, walking alongside her and helping her sit down and everything. And they had that, they shared that hug in that moment. So I thought it was a really good relationship moment between husband and wife. That was well played out.
I wonder if that's kind of like one of their kinks or something, and by the way, the line is prepare for docking, thrusters back to half, nice landing, Captain. But what if that's one of their things where they're, like on date night, he's like, permission to come aboard, Captain, and Kate goes like, well, let me check your docking clamps, or I don't know what they say. Like, maybe there's something there, so he's just kind of like, hey, we can play our game for like cute things too, like here we go, shh, have a seat, maybe. And then that way Molly doesn't know what they're talking about, that way they could just say stuff.
Yeah, she just hears in the back, beam me up. Like, what's going on in there?
Oh, we're just working on stuff. Daddy's.
Why doesn't he beam her up already? She keeps screaming. No, that's funny. The other thought, Quark had a bunch of lines here that was just about how degenerate he is. And one of them was when he was pleading with Brunt. He said, I promise I'll go back to being a good Ferengi and gouging my customers.
Yes.
And revoking the vacation time. And he's like, they have vacation time? And he goes to explain that. Yeah. He goes on to try to explain that one away. Like, no, actually, they contribute to a central fund, which I manage. I just like those kinds of lines because it's just, it's revealing when it shows you how unscrupulous Quark is at times.
Yeah, it's funny. And by the way, Brunt, another funny thing, he had a giant gold pressed latinum bar hanging it from his necklace. I don't know if you noticed that, but it was just like,
I didn't notice that.
How tacky was that? He just had this big bar, hanging like that's his necklace. Hey, did you do any doodles today, by the way? We haven't seen any doodles recently.
No, I haven't done it. Today I didn't doodle. No.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I owe us a few doodles.
So, but here, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, though, but over the years, after having doodled a lot now on these things, I always draw a very simplistic version of the station. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to draw it for you now here. This is what I do. This is like one of those.
This is great. I feel like this is what was the guy that goes like, oh, this is a happy tree. Here's a happy station. Bob Ross. Here we go. Cirroc Ross.
Yeah. It's Cirroc Ross right here, But essentially what I do is when I make these I always write Star Trek DS9 or Deep Space Nine when I do my notes. So I'll do a Star Trek, and then I'll do DS9, right?
Right.
And then what I do is I underline it a bunch of times. Okay. And then I draw a mini station, and this is the mini station. And it's very simple. It's literally this, a circle, and this, and then one in there. So
nice.
What I do is I do one of those, I guess. And it's so simple, so ugly, but I like to draw my little stations, my little DS9 space station in the beginning of the notes. So
have you ever considered adding that to your signature at conventions? How cool would that be? Especially when it's like small and subtle like that. If you're like Cirroc Lofton, and then you do a little underline, and right at the end of the underline, you draw the little parenthetical and the one.
Yes. I think I'm going to do that.
That's cool.
It's just become my little knick-knack thing to do when I make these notes. I always start off with that little station, and it's really a way for me to get started. So I'll write down the DS9 and the episode title, the season number, the episode number. So I do all of those first.
Yeah, it sets the table. It puts you in the mood. It gets you ready.
Gets me ready. Sets me in the mood. So
yeah,
that's my little gold press platinum on my chest.
Yeah. So now, when Grand Negus Grint popped up, did you recognize Max immediately? Because I sure did. Like, there's a way that he moves, and as soon as he was standing there, I immediately was like, "Oh wow, that's Rom." And then, of course, they explained why that was Max. But did you catch that right away, or was it like after they mentioned it? Because there was a lot of makeup there.
I recognized it as soon as he started talking, because I could hear it in his voice. So his voice was giving it away for me. And then obviously he doesn't look like the real Grand Negus.
Yeah.
So I know he's not. What is the guy's name?
Wallace Shawn,
right? So it wasn't Wallace Shawn, and they were making him out to be the first Grand Negus, which is not Wallace Shawn. It's prior to him, but Quint. So I realized that it was Rom in the beginning.
Yeah,
and it was funny. One of the things he said to Quark was, "And you call your brother an idiot?" I thought that was funny.
He completely changed his voice to play Grint, but there are two things there. One is that it sounded like what Rom sounded like at the beginning of the first season. At the beginning of the first season, he was very like, "All right, you guys get back to work," And it wasn't until like the second half of the first season that he started kind of more developing this Rom, I'm just a bumbling guy, brother, kind of guy.
Yeah.
And so the Grand Negus Grint actually sounded a lot like what Rom originally sounded like before they made Quark the Alpha. Because remember, the writers told us that they're originally going to make Rom the Alpha, picking on Quark, but that doesn't work. So so Rom couldn't have that really gruff voice anymore. So he adjusted it. And so then now Quark is the alpha, Rom is the beta. But the other thing with the voice was that even with the completely different voice, as you mentioned, he still has this way of saying words, whether he's changing his voice or not. He has these certain things. And I always catch myself when somebody says things interestingly, like Garrick does it a lot, Ducat does it a lot, Rom does it a lot. When they say things in a different way, these character actors, I find myself repeating that line the way they did it to kind of just study it a little bit more. And there were so many lines that he said as Grint that were delivered like Rom, but with a different voice. I don't remember the words, but anybody that, when you watch it, you recognize that every time. You're like, oh, that is totally Rom, just with a different voice, But that's fun. So, that's so cool that he has his own style, that's so recognizable.
So when you're repeating these phrases or these words, are you doing it to train yourself to say it in that kind of a different way too? Or to put yourself in the shoes?
It's more just to study it and better understand it, like for whatever use. Just the way he says it, if he says it in an interesting way, I want to repeat it in that interesting way just so that I better understand what he did, if that makes sense. Maybe I'll use it, but we're never going to like copy the way somebody says something. So I'm not really looking at it that way. I just want to understand. It's just a better way to study and appreciate what the actor did. When sometimes we go, oh, he did something interesting. But if you actually repeat it the way they did, you better understand why it's interesting. Like he drags out this last syllable, this last vowel, or he puts a p in his p, or like he just does these little interesting things that when you say it yourself, you have a better grasp as to what the actor did that made it sound so interesting. And it's just a fun thing to better appreciate how talented, these guys are. They're freaking brilliant, and I love it.
No, I'm only asking because I've done that myself, and but I do it to study the delivery that the actor has, and also the subtle nuances that they would have. And so, I put myself, and I'm actually intrigued by the fact that they're able to say things sometimes in those ways. Yeah. I remember, for example, Robert De Niro in the Taxi Driver movie, I think it was, when he's like, "You talking to me? Right? You talking to me?" Right? And so, how many times have you said that? Try to say it the way he said it, because it was just so good. He got away with saying it in such a great way. So I totally understand what you're saying. I just wanted to know what your perspective was, because I do the same thing. It may even be a television commercial or something, and just the way that somebody delivers it, and I say, wow, they just said it in a certain way, that made it unique, and they emphasized certain part of a syllable, or like you said, pronunciation.
I feel like they actually even do it more in commercials than anything else, because in commercial acting, you get one line a lot of times, or you get not even any lines. You just have a reaction or a couple lines. So they're going to pick the person that does something different and interesting. Anybody can say, "Oh, I like ice cream." They're going to say it a million different ways. But if somebody goes, "Oh, I like ice cream," or something just weird, and they're gonna be like, "That's just weird enough," or "I like ice cream," or whatever it is, or the million of different ways from people more talented than I am. They come up with these interesting things, and they pick them based on that. So I absolutely see it in commercials more than anything else, because that's how they got picked. They got picked off saying that one line, and that's it. And there's 300 people trying to say one line in an interesting way to get $400.
It's very true. I had one line when I was acting in the beginning as an actor and doing commercials. You go in for an commercial audition, and you only have one line. So they're basing everything off of just how you said that. And I remember I did a Rice Krispies commercial, and my line was, "My Rice Krispies have nothing more to say to me," right? Or nothing more to say.
Yeah.
And so so I booked the job off of how I said my Rice Krispies.
Well, don't leave us hanging. How did you say it?
Oh man, I said it like a 10-year-old version of me, so there's no way I can get away with it now. But there's a certain level of enthusiasm that you have at 10 for Rice Krispies. But
I still have that enthusiasm for Rice Krispie treats. Let me tell you.
Oh, and I'm glad you said that too, because there was a moment in this episode that I felt like Garrick was killing it.
Oh yeah.
And it was when he was first approached by Quark. He tells Morn, yeah, I put the seat cushion in your butt, and Quark essentially says, I want to ask you to kill me. And Garrick's face when he's asked to kill Quark, the face, he says no words at all.
Right.
But they end that scene on him, went to commercial break when there was commercials, and then cut back to him. But they end the scene on him, and the camera's panning in on him as he's walking forward, like, really? Like, and the interest, the interest that he shows, like he's so like, did you just ask me to kill you? Like, I've been waiting for you to do that. Like,
but there was also even more to it that I thought I saw, which was not only is he like interested and like intrigued and like excited, but he's also almost like, should I tell him? Is this okay? Is it okay for me to admit it? And then he kind of goes into his gardener thing that he knows he's not going to buy, but he's like, I know you're not going to believe me that I'm this gardener bullshit, but I'm saying it because that's my shtick. I never tell the truth. But yeah, he's just kind of like, ooh, interesting.
Yeah. You want me to kill you? Oh, okay. And it's like I was waiting for you to ask me to do this whole time. The level of interest that he had was so, and he leaves the audience. So in that moment, what I'm saying is they're cutting the commercial break on that shot. And so when he leaves the audience, like I'm like, until they, if we were watching it with commercials, I would be waiting around for the commercials to come back on, for them to be over with so I can watch what's going on, because he left it with a very intriguing kind of interesting note that he left it on, so that you can't wait to find out more. Absolutely. And that's just a technique that, masters and legends like Mr. Andy Robinson have. They know how to keep the audience engaged. They know how to turn a non-line, just a look, just a facial expression, into
something
gold.
Good enough to get you back 2 minutes from now to stick around. Yeah. So speaking of 2 minutes from now, we have 1 minute left in this. Real quick, the card would get mad at me if I didn't take him out for a walk real quick.
Yes.
Oh, it's about time, damn it. I never liked you. In a purely capitalistic society where all they care about is business and money, they would not be wasting their money on dried up remains of some loser Ferengi that couldn't even make money in the first place and couldn't even follow their rules in the first place. Now, that being said, we all bye. Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score. What do you think fans gave this one?
I am not sure. It's a little bit of a callback on a lot of different episodes. It kind of reminded me of a bunch of little episodes here and there. Mm-hmm. Like the Moogie episode, for example. So I'm going to go with a 6.7 on this.
Close. You got them reversed. It's a 7.6 from the fans today. 7.6. Now, 7.6. We've got the free-for-all coming up next, everybody. So stick around. Speaking of the fans, we've got the coolest people in the world joining us for the free-for-all. So stick around and always remember the 7th rule. Wait a second. Don't
forget.
Special thanks to, rather than doing it on the other side, let's do it right now. Special
Carmen
thanks to
Shamwell.
Exactly. PJ Tomas, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri. Bill Victor Arucan. Yvette Blackmon of the Sci-Fi Sisters. Homer Freezy out in New Yeezy. Eve England out in Wales, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, Titus Mohler, Tim Baum, and Dr. Sue V. Gruner. Stick around for the free-for-all. We'll be right back on the seventh rule.
Did you say not?
So it begins. Yeah. Not it.
I said nose game, not it.
Not it.
Wait, I have to go back to my see, we're playing not it. Okay, fine. Welcome to the free-for-all. I'm Anne-Marie Segal. This is Scott Jensen the 13th.
Wow.
Homer Frizzell.
13.
And TJ Jackson-Bey in Missouri. And Melissa Longo of Walking Art Made by Melissa, which is where I got my bracelet. And Cirroc Lofton himself.
I lost her.
Oh man.
Okay,
She was just
There we go.
making a point. She was
Right.
really
She's
drawing
got-
the moment
okay.
out.
For
Yeah.
the drama.
All right. That was
So
dramatic.
and also my name's Ryan T. Husk. We actually have a lot of items, not just the bracelet that Anne-Marie showed, which was really cool. Walking Art Made by Melissa, but Melissa herself is also wearing a shirt from Walking Art Made by Melissa. That's the chat pack. Check it
I
out.
love it.
In the description box below, you will find a link that says walkingartmadebymelissa.com. Check it out. We also have a few other cool shirts. Mr. Scott Jensen is wearing a chat pack shirt that you can find on our Teespring. That is made by JR Pool. It's got some hidden initials in there, so check it out. That's a Star Trek Delta with all kinds of cool letters.
Oh wait, I have a shirt from there too. Rainy eyes.
Ferengi eyes.
Yeah, I love it.
That's
I
also
have 7 of them.
on, oh my goodness. That's also on our Teespring store, teespring.com/the seventh rule. You can find that in the description box below.
Wait. And how do you get a discount?
You become a patron.
Mhm.
If you are a patron, you get a discount. Homer is wearing a cool Be Kind shirt from bekindmerch.org, I believe, right?
You got it. That's right.
Chase's
The Ken
company.
Mitchell one.
And this is the Ken Mitchell
I love it.
specifically.
Beautiful.
Man, why can't I sign my name? It's pretty.
You're
it takes
because
a
you're
lot
a
of practice.
doctor.
It's a doctor thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, you were like, I can't read your handwriting.
Oh, and Cirroc and I already went over our Abyssinian kiosk shirts of the day.
Love.
So everybody already knows about. God
Ooh.
dang, those are pretty.
So
Wow,
cool.
I love that. Cirroc, I'm gonna have to get hooked up with
Oh,
one of
yeah.
those.
It's just a real fun little colorful design.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your sister's so nice. When I ordered Christmas mugs, she sent me such a nice note. So
Oh,
impressed.
she's
the
nice to
best.
everybody but me. So that's really cool.
That's the mark of a true sibling.
That's
Yeah.
That's
nature
my
right there.
sister.
So
Oh, and Mochi, I forgot to introduce.
she introduces
Ryan,
herself.
I think I'm showing up as the speaker person. You might want to pin someone else so people don't tune out.
No.
No, we've got
On
everybody
purpose.
on,
Okay.
but I think maybe I do have you pinned. But we're seeing
Yeah, I think
everybody.
so too. Yeah. Good.
Well, Homer, would you like to start us off to talk about the remnants of this episode? Cirroc and I just dissected it and tore it apart, but there's still some yummy bits to discuss.
You dissect it into
In a
52
good way, I
pieces.
into,
Yeah.
into 52
That's a
very
Yeah.
tiny
Just-
pieces.
So 52 was a random number to me. I guess it's a deck of cards, and it sort of makes us think about money and valuation and poker, which is kind of where this was going, but it didn't end up going there. There was this whole thing when Brent came in and said, I'm going to ruin your family.
Mhm.
And that included everyone. But at the end, it was really just Quark who lost everything. I don't know what happened to Moogie, probably nothing. So it was odd. And I wonder if there were some changes in the writer's room at the end and they decided, hey, let's not, or maybe people will forget this. But I really like, and then the other scene that kind of bothered me was Garrick was supposed to be, killing Quark when he didn't expect it. It was going to be silent. course, deadly. Wasn't going to make a noise.
Silent
gonna
but
hurt.
deadly.
What is
Wasn't going to be smelly. All that stuff. But I thought, wait, doesn't Garrick want to, like, there was no thought given to what happens afterwards if he does kill someone? Like, I mean, when Worf attempted to kill Kern, there were some serious repercussions. So I can imagine Garrick would have been exiled from the station at the very least and sent back to Cardassia if Cardassia was going to have him. So I felt like there was a lot of stuff that the ramifications weren't actually considered within the story.
Oh,
Yeah.
too bad. We
Well,
won't hear it, and we won't hear it. It's my favorite episode.
No,
It's
it
your
was fun.
favorite? Like number one out of
I would say
176?
one of my top 5 favorite scenes in all of Star Trek is the end. It makes me cry every time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
What line
I
is
have
it
to- I
that
have to
specifically
agree.
sets you off?
I have to agree that the end got me a little teary-eyed. But
That was
Henry, let's
Every
hear
time.
from you. Yeah.
Well, it seems like I always think it's like the Our Town episode. Like, it's so beautiful. It captures the human condition so well. It's such a good work of art. And it's just, if you don't tear up at the end, you're kind of a monster.
Monster.
Yep.
Good litmus test.
I'm taking you off of my Facebook.
What's the line that especially triggers the tear reaction for you?
No, that's why I love it. It's like one of those things where it's just all about like the looks and like how it really gets you in the field when the music starts and like Bashir comes in. I love it so much. And especially like when Sisko comes in, like even Sisko's thought it through, and then when Odo comes in, that's to like set up all the furniture. It's just like, it doesn't get any better than that.
I think it's Rom's line where it says, "Hey, brother, you didn't think you had any assets."
Yes. Oh, like tearing up already all over again. And I already watched it once today. So Rom is like such a star in this episode. I just love it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that line was the best one. And he was naming his best friends as assets. I thought that was a good one.
Yes, Rom even offered him some old clothes.
There you go, brother.
So cute.
I was going to
I'd
throw these
rather-
out.
I'd rather walk around naked, he said.
Just
Yeah.
so amazing. And then I also have to say, like, I mean, even the B plot's so good in this one. It just shows Kira and like you see her really starting to heal from all of the PTSD that she had from Cardassians like oppressing the Bajorans. And she just like she kind of like gains a family, and you see her sort of like rediscovering her own, I mean, whatever Bajor's version of humanity is. Bajoranity.
Joranity.
And then also like the
Bajoran.
medical part even is amazing. Like if you were reading like a medical textbook, if aliens are real, like my first like guess about why that pregnancy would be complicated would be about like extravascularization. They just like write the science so well in this episode too. And that's such a like distant part of the plot, like the actual reasons for the pregnancy, like not being able to be taken out of Kira, but they even like kill that. I love it.
Did anybody else notice that when Brunt was walking out of the place, when Quark said, "Don't ever come back to my restaurant. I don't ever want to see you again," Brunt actually pulls out a sticker out of nowhere and sticks it onto
Yes.
the wall, like you've been shut down by the health department or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Like one of those.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, where did this big ass sticker come from? Like,
Just out of
Oh my
nowhere, like a Looney
he
Tune.
didn't unseal it. He just
It's amazing.
boom, had it in his hand. I'm like, where was
that
this?
is so Brunt. I just love it all.
It stays on there in the background too in the following episodes. You'll see it back there.
Actually, in my
Really?
mind, I think it's
Yep.
magnetic.
It does.
Yeah.
That's my headcanon.
Oh, headcanon. I was wondering, where the hell did he keep this sticker at?
Just out behind his back.
Just boom.
I also
All
love
right.
his like
Got a whole case
gold
of them
pressed
back there.
Latin,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, a little fanny
whatever
pack.
buckle. It's
Medallion.
He's out of control.
That's
Like
gonna
no
be the
way
new thing
Brunt
right
has
there.
any friends.
You have no assets.
Yeah.
No.
Huh. That's a good question. Who
would be
do you
friends with Brunt?
yeah, who do you think would befriend Brunt? Who do you think would be like, I like the cut of your jib, kid?
Can I go first?
Yeah.
Guinan would try because she's such a wonderful soul.
She tried to
But she
figure
would
out
fail 'cause
what's
he's a mess.
irking him.
Hmm.
TJ, you have any thoughts on who
Or
would be?
Neelix.
Well, Neelix
And I would love
could
to
be
see
everybody's
that.
friend.
That won't go well.
TJ, any thoughts
Brunt's
on who would
friend.
want to be Brunt's friend?
Data, I
Mhm.
think,
Yes.
will be Brent's friend because Data wouldn't get his feelings hurt, and I think he would be curious, like Ferengi are a little bit different from the humans, and I think Data would be curious to see what drives them and the intricacies of their relationships, and so he would be Brent's friend since he doesn't have any friends. And but he's successful. So I think Data would be curious about that. Like, how are you successful in this environment that's so different from basically everything I've been taught as the way to behave?
It's an interesting one. What do you think, Scott Jensen?
Oh, I'm gonna reach back. It's gonna be kind of a frenemy type thing, like a Quark and Odo. But if we're not worried about time and
We
distance
aren't.
and whatnot, I would say Harry Mudd from the original series.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, very much they're both incredibly ridiculously smart and clever, so they're both outdoing each other, but they have that respect because they're both as slippery as the other one is.
Question.
Yeah.
Would Brunt also compete for Stella?
Oh, Stella!
I just say.
And I feel like it would work with Rand Wilson, or either one of them would be great with it. So Rand Wilson could do pretty much anything, I think. So yeah, he would definitely. To see him and Jeffrey Combs, just man. Oh, somebody hears me. Let's listen, guys. Listen.
What about
Yeah,
what about you,
I need
Melissa?
a short
Oh,
trek now.
It'd be perfect.
with those two. What do you think, Melissa?
I'm gonna throw out. I'm gonna say Tilly because she likes to try and be everyone's friend.
Right.
I would love to see that.
It's a good one. She does try to be everybody's friend. What do you think,
Would it go
Homer?
well?
I don't know that it'll go well, but
I think it would be fun to see Brunt and Wayun as friends.
That's what I was going to, yeah.
I thought about
man.
that.
I think you're right
Data,
about that.
Data was the one I originally thought of, just because he would be
Uh-oh.
like, "Oh, this is interesting." Yeah,
I was going to say
He's
Harry
more-
Mudd, but since that was taken, then I was like, okay, well, how about Wayun? If that's, I'm going to say Shran,
Oh, that's-
final answer, even though I don't think they'll really get along.
they'll
I think Shran would take care, but Brunt would be over with real quick.
Yeah, pretty quickly.
He'll take his blood to Andoria.
Cirroc, what do you think? Who do you think would be Brunt's friend?
I thought of Wayun as well. I thought the two of them would try to out slick each other or one up each other.
Mhm.
Trying to watch the two of them negotiating would be hilarious for me.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
But I don't see Brunt having any friends. Actually, he's just not the kind of. I don't see him having friends.
Or
No, I
maybe
think he just has
Kai Wynn would
coworkers.
team up with him. Yeah, Kai Wynn could.
Yeah, co-workers. Yeah.
Kai Wynn, Anne-Marie?
Yeah, don't you think
Ooh.
they'd be like a creepy team?
Do you
well,
think
that part's true.
Do you think Kai Wynn and Loxana Troy would get along?
No, do not even.
I think they
Why?
would play bridge.
She would kill it.
Oh man.
She and Moogie would get along, but hello, not she's standards.
Just take one look at her. Just
She's so wonderful. No way.
Who, Kai Wynn? Yeah.
But she and Moogie for sure they would play bridge together.
Okay.
Probably with that Tiffany set of bridge cards.
Second question.
Oh! By the way, I have something to bring up.
Let's hear it.
Oh,
In this episode, Dr. Bashir is explaining how he took the baby from Keiko and put it into Kira, right? And all I was thinking was, I bet you did put that baby in Kira, Dr. Bashir.
Zip. Yep, that's the one.
Yep.
Yep.
Can that
So
be
this
the
He's like
title?
winking at the camera.
It's all
Can
your
that be the
fault.
title?
That's all I could think of. I was like, oh, that's
Dude.
his baby, actually. How
Yep.
ironic is that? That's
Yep.
actually his baby that's in there.
I
And
love
yes,
I thought that
Scott,
was-
you're foreshadowing a line that comes up
I was
later.
gonna
Right?
say
Yeah. He's just-
hashtag body parts.
Bashir's just like, what? I don't know what's going on.
Stood to be like, that's like good for the B plot also.
Okay, so here's a second question. So Kai Wynn and Luoxana Troy would be the second
Don't
place
cross me.
bridge champions. Who's the team that would beat them as the number
one.
one bridge champion duo?
Ooh.
This question's null and void. Who would get first place?
Okay, well,
Bridge
who's
champion.
meeting them in the finals? We'll decide who
Okay.
the champion is later.
Can I go first?
Yes, please.
Q and Lady Q.
That's what it'll take to
Okay.
take down Loxana. It's the Q.
And they won't win.
Wow.
See, she doesn't need her powers to
Nope.
win that game. She can just body language.
Mhm.
TJ, who do you think beats them in bridge?
Data and Spock.
Do you think they get along?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they should. I think so.
For
Yeah.
mine, I feel like they're so similar they wouldn't.
They'd be boring.
That'd be really boring. Yeah, it'd be a snoozer.
That's not.
Spock is like the exciting one in the friendship.
They'd be arguing over which one is logical and which one is rational.
Okay, well, let's throw a little bit of spice in it. We'll make it Ethan Peck's Spock then.
There you go.
Oh, hot.
Who in Spock?
Ethan Peck's Spock.
Okay.
I'd watch
Sweet
that.
beard too. Yeah.
Wait, they might beat Loxana and Moogie because they'll be like taken aback by his good looks.
So
Just hear them. That is one.
Loxana's never
guy
swept up in
that's
that kind of stuff.
what do you think, Scott? Who's the challenger team that takes them off their throne
Man,
in bridge?
Lord, this is God. I had a few of them popping up, but I'll just throw 7 and 9 and Naomi Wildman together in there.
Okay.
She's a wild card, isn't she, Naomi?
I
7.
heard they're good at Connect 4 too.
Yeah, see, I think that 7 would just be like ridiculously good at any kind of game, and she hates it and doesn't want to deal with it. Like Voyager 7, like 7 Picard 7, she would just destroy the whole thing anyway.
I love their relationship too.
Blow the board up.
Goodness,
Or
yeah.
the cards.
Just flip the table over and get everybody drunk. It's all over with. So, yeah, and you never know what Naomi's going to pull out of nowhere too. So, she's
Right.
that Delta Quadrant, and maybe those new kids on Prodigy. Who knows? Maybe one of them.
You never know.
We never know.
What do you think, Melissa?
Mm,
We ask the tough questions here.
It is.
yeah,
Show.
it's one that I think about often.
Mm.
Like
Just
they
frustrating
ponder it.
Right back at you, Ryan.
I know. I deserve that.
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go with T'Pol and Jadzia.
Oh yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
Solid.
Oh,
Mhm.
she
I like
she
that.
might win.
Mhm.
I like
Solid.
that combo.
Also, I want a show where Melissa's at Quarks and talks about these hard-hitting questions. I would watch it like an after
Or
track.
just in the background. Yeah.
Host the next after track.
Well, Homer, these are some tough things to compete with, but what do you got?
They are. I initially thought Spock and Data, but that answer's been taken. So now I'm going to go with Garrick and Bashir.
Ooh, the fussy Freddies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think they could hold
Bashir's not winning
their
anything.
own.
What'd you say, Henry? Bashir's not winning
So
anything.
contrarian today.
It's just true.
She is starting it up.
Wait, no, but can I add one thing to my answer? I'm going to steal Jadzia and add Pell. That was that like woman Frangie who had the fake male ears. She's
You
a
come off at night.
she's
Oh,
a good
yeah.
contender.
Yeah.
You can have her.
I want her for my team.
Yeah, she's
For my
pretty good.
team, she's awesome.
What about Lita too? I'm sure she could count cards at that point, right? She's been
That's
working
true.
for Quark. You know, she could figure it all out.
She totally can.
So
Watch the wheel, not the girl.
I've got an answer here. I say Morn and Calvin Hutchinson.
Oh my gosh.
They're the perfect odd couple right there.
They're so
I mean, I don't know which
so
one
chatty.
talks more.
Fire and ice. Fire and ice.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, you're both so chatty.
Well, Cirroc, what do you got?
I actually had Morn in my answer too, and mine
Uh-oh.
was Morn and the Grand Nagus,
Hmm.
and I feel like the two of them would make a nice little combo. Grand Nagus does all the talking, Morn
Yes.
does all the underhand stuff.
Shoot. You
Nobody's
don't know yet, though, that Moogie helps the Grand Nagus with his card game strategies.
Oh my god!
Spoiler
Oh,
alert.
so this it could all turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
This.
Wait,
this
I would
game
say,
is
though,
crazy.
Morn and Jake Sisko, because Jake learns a lot at Quark.
Jake and Nog, man. Jake and Nog, baby.
Oh yeah! Don't bet against Jake and Nog.
Yeah, Jake and Nog.
Knox got
We
that
will
card
find a
sleeve,
way.
too.
Wait, that's
They're also
awesome.
the doubles tennis champions.
Oh, I would love to see that.
Yes,
I
table,
bet
table
Nog-
tennis. Table
Nog
tennis.
has a really good net game.
Yeah, totally.
And that would go against Bashir.
Yeah, they would totally beat Bashir.
I think so. Are we allowed to cheat? Is that how we're doing it? I think a little bit of cheating.
I mean, yeah. That's what
Yeah,
makes
but
pods
last time
fun.
caught.
That's right.
That's
You have
what
to be
makes
able
it
to get
work.
away
right?
with it.
It's not
Yeah,
cheating
yeah.
if you don't get caught.
Well, then Odo's got to be in there somewhere because if he could be the best cheater in the
Yeah,
game.
He's
if
the
he
deck
wanted
of cards. It's Odo the whole time.
to. Odo was the deck.
Odo was the deck of cards the whole time.
There you go.
But shouldn't
Your
Odo
partner
also
keeps
be
leaving
able
the
to?
table.
Shouldn't Odo also be able to win in like games like tennis because he doesn't even have to run across
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
court. He could
Yeah,
just
I
reach.
wonder that.
Man stuff.
He could just
Yeah,
reach
classic
across
man.
and hit it. Like,
I always wonder,
You
like,
gotta be
what
like,
the
no
surface
shape-shifting,
area
bro.
be.
No shape shifting.
oh, well,
Maybe
then-
he's
gotta
not
make
that
that rule.
fast.
Oh, Odo's fast.
Yeah, but we have to. Oh well, we have to see him in action on a tennis court and see what his reach is and see how long it takes him to get to where the ball is and his anticipation and all that stuff.
I'd say, okay, if I was Odo, I'd say, okay, no shape shifting, but then I'd turn into like John McEnroe and okay, well, let's go.
I'm not going to shift anymore. I'm done.
I'm done.
Hey, did we ever find out what we call it when they name something like the Albanian whiskey?
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh, you ask this every episode.
because we brought it
was
up
trying to
again,
think
and I
of
was just
that.
about to say, oh, he could shapeshift into an Albanian sea turtle or something and win the game. But what do we? I guess we'll have to figure that out one of these days.
That's
I
going to be
mean,
a question for the
You're the one
writers.
who's good at wordplay.
I think some people in the live chat were calling it like, Trek naming or something like that,
I
which
said
is
Trek-jective, like
We can do
adjective,
better.
but that's not that good because I'm not good at wordplay. We can definitely do better. Maybe medallion. That's like one of the champions of
Medallion's pretty
being in the
good.
live chat.
Medallion.
Like
Medallion's the one that
Alright,
came up with
challenge is
victory is
on, chat
life.
pad.
Victory is
What do you
life.
got?
Yep.
It's extending Earthisms to the world, or no, not to the world, to the universe.
Oh, how fun is it when Brunt calls it humanitarian?
Oh, Mom.
I just love that. Like the line reads in this episode are just like mind blowing. They're so good.
Yeah, when he said, "You disgust me."
Philanthropist.
You're a philanthropist.
Yeah.
So funny.
And how about the fact that Quark runs out and said, you know what? It's true, okay? It's true, but I can change.
Mhm. All amazing. Or like all the hilarious bits about like the Grand Negus and when like how much the Grand Negus must love Quark, and Rom's like, oh, I don't really think that he likes
He
you.
used you.
Sold.
It's
I
not the
know, but
same
he did
thing.
it because he likes me.
So cute. Just love it all. This episode's amazing. IMDb 10.0.
Is that what it was?
Oh,
That's what I ranked it.
She gives them all 10s.
just 10 them all the way.
No.
I didn't look this one up. I don't know what it was.
7.6.
Yeah, I put in my 10 last night.
Hmm.
Oh, so you raised it up.
It was a 7.4.
Shocked I hadn't already. I don't know why I hadn't already. So good.
I think it's a 7.
We should do that before we release our new episodes. We should, like, 1 or 2 days before, say, everybody watch this episode and go on IMDb and give it a fair appraisal.
Yes. I've been trying to get this
A
movement
10.
started.
And then every time, like, the
Fair.
IMDb score just kind of goes higher and higher for every one of them.
I've been trying to get this movement started, but it has to be a week before the new
Try
episode comes
Bran.
out. God.
Oh, man.
Good one, Ryan.
No.
No. But it has to be like a week before the new one comes out because that's when you record.
Right. Anyway, we're just about out of time and we do have to run, but thanks for bringing up some good subject matter for us to ask questions. My question was going to be something like, you know, if you were a Ferengi and you were to die, and rather than trying to sell your desiccated remains, what would be the most valuable thing that you could sell? But then I was like, that sounds weird. It will be like, my family is valuable to me.
I'll sell them.
Sell them.
I'll buy them.
There you go.
Anyway, but yeah, thanks so much for joining us, guys. Anne-Marie, TJ, Scott, Homer, Melissa, Cirroc, and I thank you. And we'd like to thank everybody at home. And we'd like to thank Mr. Aaron Eisenberg, who also got a NAM today, ladies and gentlemen. And he gets a NAM on our show every day as well. Thank you all for playing with us. Always remember the 7th rule. And, you know, springtime. Let's go have some fun. See you soon.
Get outside.
Go outside, enjoy life. Enjoy your life.